Hey everybody, this is Jonathan from North Beach Windsurfing, down here in St. Pete, Florida. Today we're going to talk about the 2021 Starboard Wingboard lineup. Starboard has gone a very different route than pretty much all the other players on the market. We're going to get into some of those reasons on those shape characteristics that they've incorporated into all of these, and tell you really why these are different and who these boards are for. So the first boards we're going to talk about are the 7.0 and the 6.7. We've got the 7.0 here on the beach today. We don't have the 6.7, but we've had a lot of time on the 6.7, so we know exactly how it rides. Basically, the 6.7 is a shrunken down version of the 7.0, so we'll just talk about the 7.0, and it basically everything will apply to the 6.7, except it's a little bit smaller. So let's come on over here and we'll talk about why this board works the way it does and why it is so perfect for absolute beginners who have never done any foiling wind sports before. So right here we have the 7.0, 7 feet long, it's 30 inches wide, and it's 140 liters. So this is a perfect board for anybody who has balance issues, somebody who's a bigger guy possibly, like on the heavy side. Tons of float, lots of stability, and more importantly, what you're going to notice is that they are long. 7.0 is maybe one of the longest wingboards out there currently. Everybody's going to have their own opinions about that. A lot of people are like, oh, 7.0 is just ridiculous. Why do you need a board that long? Well, the reason why they made these boards so long is this actually benefits them greatly when moving through the water. They drive so well. They're super directional, very yaw stable. So just like a paddleboard, just like Starboard's paddleboard lineups, which have been industry leading for years, these are going to point in direction, get going, glide across the top of the water super well, up to foiling speed, without too much of an issue. You don't have to work the board, you don't have to pump it, you don't have to pump your wing. This will taxi up onto foil all on its own. So that's the huge boon about these things. They're so perfect for that first day on a foil. So if you're learning yourself, if you're teaching yourself somewhere out there how to get going on a wing, like the 7.0 and the 6.7 are basically the go-to boards out there. The 6.7 is 115 liters and 28 inches wide, 6.7 long obviously, but so that one would be a little bit more suitable towards basically people around 175 pounds, like 80-ish kilos, as their first ultimate board that you've never done any water sports or wind sports or foiling sports with. So if you're heavier than that, then I'd suggest going with the 7.0 for a little bit more stability up front. So we're going to take a look at the things that make the 7.0 and the 6.7 special and why they are kind of shaped the way they are. So I've got my paddle here, so I'm going to show you something cool with the concave in the deck. We're going to bring the board up to level. Starboard scooped out the deck aggressively. So what this does is it lowers the center of gravity of the actual board. You sit lower on the deck of the board than the actual edge of the board. So that does a couple of things. One, like I said, it lowers your center of gravity in the board, makes you more stable. So if you are standing on the board and you accidentally move out towards the edge of the board, towards the rail of the board, this chunky rail right here is actually going to push back and stabilize you. It'll help stabilize the board and get your balance back. So this actually gets your back foot a lot closer to the foil itself. So this makes it so that foil control is much more supple and easier and a little bit dampened, I would say. So boards that are a little thicker on the back foot tend to be have higher center of gravity and are much more reactive. And that's not something you really need on your first time foil board. Other cool tricks that the Starboard's got going on right here, they've carved out the back edge right here. So you can see this really exaggerated scoop. Basically, this is a design so that water in this, if any water is standing in the foot tray, it's going to come right off the back of the board. real quickly. Let's go ahead and flip this upside down and we'll take a look at the bottom shape. The bottom shape is very special as well. So what Starboard's done is they've carved out these two huge channels. Setting up was essentially kind of a trimaran hull design. So this really does a great job at getting the board to be directional in the water, glide through the water really nicely, and release specifically to help you get up on foil. So back here you can see the tail cutouts. Starboard incorporates these into their foiling design so that the board can release really nicely once you do get the board up to planing speed. The center section right here still extends through all the way to the back, and that helps the board continue to glide when you taxi it up to foiling speed. So it has a nice clean release from the water. Another nifty thing that Starboard's done is incorporated a measurement scale next to their foil track, so it helps you keep track of where the best spots to mount your foil are, which is going to be really helpful. Helps you get on the water that much faster once you do find your sweet spot, and then experiment with foil placement to see how that's going to work out for you on the water. Also, Starboard's cleverly added a handle on the bottom to make getting down to the water a lot easier, so you can carry your wing in one hand and your board foil safely away from the wing getting down to the water. One quick thing to mention about the two bigger sizes, they actually double as really good SUP foil boards. They catch waves great, they paddle into waves really well, and they really help you learn how to foil in waves. So if you're anything like me and don't have a strong surfing background, these are the ticket. We're going to move on to the smaller sizes of the wingboard lineup. This is where things start to get a little bit more exciting. So first one on the docket here is the 5/8. So the 5/8 is 5/8 long, 5 feet 8 inches, 25 inches wide, and 88 liters. So that might sound like a big jump from the 6.7 at 115, but Starboard's clever. They have basically incorporated all of the characteristics that make the big boards as stable as they are, and they've pumped it into this more compact shape. So even though it's 88 liters and a lot shorter, it is by far one of the most stable boards in its size category, bar none. It is probably one of the easiest to use boards in the 90 liter category that you're going to be able to find. I can't believe how many people I'm recommending this board to work as a good intermediate wingboard, to work as a first-time wingboard for some people who have come from other foiling backgrounds, say from like surfing sports. If you're a lightweight, this is also a super good first-time wingboard. So anybody in the 130 to 160 pound category, right? This is an awesome first wingboard to go to. A lot of people are worried about added swing weight when it comes to this board. Because Starboard is added length to the nose and tail, it's actually balanced out beautifully. It's not a problem whatsoever. You do feel like this board is a little bit more cruisy and versus some of the more snappy, more maneuverable type boards. So think of it more like riding like a Sector 9 longboard, cruising on a sidewalk, versus like a short board, like snapping in a bowl or something along those lines. If this board is stable, you've tested it back to back against boards that are, of course, from other brands that are probably 20, 30, 40 liters more in volume than this thing, and this is probably more stable than a lot of other boards in those bigger size categories. So again, can't recommend it enough. As I'm finding out, it actually works as a really good prone foiling board. So I've been learning how to prone foil on this, and it's been super fun and easy. I can basically paddle into little chunky waves like a longboard and start foiling on this thing without much problem. Like I said, I'm not a good surfer, so this is huge for me. I love this board so much. So one last thing to note, this board has really solid foot strap insert options. So if you want to start getting into jumping, this is a great first jumping board. Just strap it up and send it. Last but certainly not least is going to be the 4.6. So this is going to be 4 foot 6 inches long, 25 inches wide at its widest point, and 69 liters. So This is definitely the smallest board in the lineup. When you have a board that's this compact, you're gonna get something that's super maneuverable on the water. This is pretty much an introductory sinker board to really help you figure out how to get going on something smaller, more advanced. I'd say it's probably more closer to being a sub-sinker than anything, because when it sinks down into the water, it's about 4 to 5 inches into the water, but it's still super stable as it sinks into the water, right? So all you need is to get the board, pop up to your feet and get a little bit of drive going through the board, and it pops right up to the top of the water and then gets going up on foil really quickly. And then you have a board that's super maneuverable underneath your feet. So this thing is extremely reactive. Personally love it. So you can see I've got this one set up with foot straps because it works for jumping quite well. So definitely my favorite setup of the lineup so far. Actually, I can't make up my mind between the 5.8 with its cruisy nature and the 4.6, which is a little bit more aggressive. So I'm sure if I spend a little bit more time on this sucker, though, it'll probably take my #1 spot. All right, to recap on everything, guys, the Starboard Wingboard lineup 2021, all of the sizes that you're going to be able to get your hands on are probably going to be the most stable, easiest to use board that you can get in their size category. So if you're a first-time wingboarder, if you're an intermediate wingboarder, or you're an advanced rider looking for your first sinker, Starboard has a board in its lineup that's going to work for you without question. And the best part about all of these boards is they actually are all retailing at $9.99 a piece. So that's probably the cheapest board you're going to be able to get on the market. So anyway, if you have any more questions about how these boards work on the water and which one might be best for you, then you can give us a call at North Beach Windsurfing. We're here to help.